around behavior. Some parents, they have like no boundaries. And I think some boundaries are appropriate.
What does no boundaries lead to? Like from a neuroscience and from a study perspective of what happens if you have no boundaries?
It leads to mental health problems. So there's this great study out of the University of Oregon. We looked at 10,000 families, and they looked at parenting along two dimensions. Parents who were firm versus permissive, and then hostile versus loving. And if you take those two dimensions, you end up with four types of parents. Permissive and hostile, permissive and firm, loving and permissive, loving and firm. And they looked at what were the consequences or the outcome of each parenting style. Do you have a sense what would be worse? What would be the worst one that creates the most trouble?
You would think that it's hostile and permissive.
Hostile and permissive, the worst. What do you think is the second worst?
Loving and permissive?
Loving and permissive. Shocking.
Wow.
Because children need boundaries. And the loving and permissive ones had more mental health challenges than the hostile and firm.
Why does that work? Why is that a great interaction point that allows them to open up?
Because kids, if you just say, tell me your problem, they'll have no idea and they'll freeze. If you play a game with them or you go for a walk with them, then they begin to open up if they know you'll listen. And we're in a society that's talking over each other. Parents are anxious and they want to solve things and they talk too much. So if I can get people to use less words and be more present, it's gold for them.
How do you know if a child is becoming more mentally strong or more mentally weak? As you're practicing some of these methods, what do you notice? What are the habits or the core traits of a mentally strong child and a mentally weak child?
So mentally strong kids don't believe everything they think. This is so important. Before in other episodes, we've talked about killing the ants, the automatic negative thoughts. Actually, I have a child's book called Captain Snout and the Superpower Questions, where I wrote specifically to teach kids to question their automatic thoughts. And so a vulnerable child, so maybe I wouldn't say mentally weak, would just say vulnerable, is you notice they have stinking thinking, that they mind read, they fortune tell, they focus on what's wrong rather than on what's right. A strong child still have those thoughts, but they'll question them. They just won't attach to what I call the different kinds of ants. And blame is like the worst ant. It's you blame other people for your life, you become a victim and you become powerless. What is it I can do today to solve this problem? And that's the essence of the book, along with Love and Logic. What is it I can do today to solve this problem?
Yeah. Obviously, none of us are perfect. And I think every parent is already judging themselves in how they are a parent. I think a lot of people carry that weight around and they carry that stress around of, I'm not a good parent. I wish I could have handled that better. I shouldn't have said that. I should have said that. What's a healthy way to repair a mistake you've made? Maybe you've said something you wish you didn't say. You did something you shouldn't have done. And you've done it a few times. What's a healthy way to repair that bond?
Well, there's a guilt cycle that people get into. They overreact and then they feel bad about it. So they don't react and they let bad behavior go and they let it go and they let it go and then they can't stand it and then they explode. And then they feel guilty. And so they don't react and they don't react and then they don't react and then they overreact. And so the trick is when there's behavior you don't like, deal with it, as opposed to let it go. It's like deal with it in the moment. And you're going to make mistakes. Lord knows I've made lots of mistakes. But every day I win or I learn, right? I'm working with an Olympic athlete that I just love so much, Alicia Newman.